I owned who I was as a wife. I'm an amazing person. I was an amazing wife, but I'm not perfect. Neither of us were. And truly owning myself and my own actions and what I did. And I stopped blaming. Oh my gosh. I don't even care about blaming others. When I stopped blaming myself, when you stop blaming yourself, that's when there's so much change. Hey, ladies, this is Angie Schassen. I am from America. I just relocated from Chicago back to Oregon, which is my home state, and I'm super excited to be back. Just a little bit about me, kind of my to from story, if you will. Um, Several months ago, I found myself in a situation that I never thought that I would be in. I had been what I felt was happily married for 24 years and unfortunately discovered that my husband was with other women. It crushed me. Like it really, really crushed me to a point where after months and months and months of trying to be somebody I wasn't, trying to understand why he couldn't love me, why he didn't love me, why he would do this to me, I ultimately decided that I just didn't need to live anymore. Luckily, my mom and my best friend came in, and I would say saved the day, if you will. I found myself in a hospital. I just call it, the mental ward, because that's what it is. They like to give it pretty names, but it is what it is. And from that point, my husband and I decided to separate, which was good. I tried to fight it for a long time. I really tried to fight it because I thought it was something that I could fix or something that I did wrong that I should fix. And when the day came, for him to be on his way, I started searching. Honestly, it was the first thing that came up, so that was a blessing. But I searched online, and I just, I needed a support group for somebody who was going through separation. And literally, this was the first link, I guess you would call it, that I selected, and it's history from there. I remember, being on the phone with Cody, and I think it was meant to be like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and it was 2 hours. And I was so excited. I didn't even know what to expect. There was no setup or anything like that. It was really just this really great conversation with him. And ironically, he was a guy. I'm not a man hater, so that was good. But it was just this connection of like, I think one of the first questions he asked me is where would you be, or where were you headed? And I was headed for death. I'm not afraid to say it now. I'm honestly proud to say it, that's the place that I was in. And I know there's so many people like that, because I can tell you the pretend face that I put on every day. My therapist used to say, don't be little Miss Sally Sunshine. That's just who I became. And I would just hide behind that pain constantly. And I will tell you, not one time have I questioned my decision. And I am not, I don't spend anything on myself. It was one of the things I guess I just didn't value, my own self. But, well, I know I didn't now, but I wouldn't spend money, and it didn't even faze me. It wasn't about the money, but just that time that I spent with Cody made me realize, yes, I'm ready. And if I don't do this, then I might not be here tomorrow. And I was so excited to start the program. I was just like, oh, I'm going to jump in feet first, because that's what I always do. And I'm going to go through the motions, and I'm going to be a good student and check the boxes. And that's not what it's about. It's your pace. I would say the first 3 weeks were probably the most difficult. Like it was hard. I would have to step away and come back, and I've never cried so much in my life. But I will tell you, connecting back to who I am, oh my gosh, it's so hard to describe. It's just a remarkable feeling. I was that little girl that grew up on a farm, and I stuck sticks in poop piles, and I was just telling a friend today, I can still be that person. I can go stick a stick in poop and it's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what makes me happy. And one of my biggest concerns, I would say, probably was next week is going to be the week that I learn to unlove my husband. And I was trying to fight that so much. And, looking back on it now, this program was never about him, ever. And once I allowed myself to just lean into me and not have to relate it back to him or frankly anyone else, that's when I started getting the most out of it. And honestly, it felt like a breeze. I was like, am I doing this right? This feels like way too easy. And Fiona, you and I spoke, I think it was week 6, and I really stalled out. I'm just like, oh. And you said something to me that I tell people all the time. I mean, it got me over the hump, but you said, you can still love him and not be with him. And that to me was just like, what? I can? Oh my gosh. And it was like no stopping me at that point. It was so amazing. And then just going through and creating the goals for myself and the opportunities that could come from that, making decisions that I was making for me. I wasn't making them for anyone else. I owned who I was as a wife. I'm an amazing person. I was an amazing wife, but I'm not perfect. Neither of us were. And truly owning myself and my own actions and what I did. And I stopped blaming. Oh my gosh. I don't even care about blaming others. When I stopped blaming myself, when you stop blaming yourself, that's when there's so much change. Give yourself grace. And I never did that before. I was just like, oh, I made a mistake. I screwed up again. And then I would, have to go back at it and make these changes and feel guilty. And I have none of that. I literally have none of that. I had a conversation with a gal that I've known for 20 years. And she's just watching me and she's just like, wow, like you're not so career driven like you were before. And I was like, but I'm still going to do a great job because that's who I am. But I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for someone else. And that was key. And she said something to me that normally would just throw me for a loop. And like I said, she and I have known each other for so long. She's like, Angie, I want you to know that a few months ago, I was really angry at you. And she goes, I feel like I can tell you this because you're so happy. She's like, I was so angry with you. There were some people that told me that you didn't support me and that you weren't an advocate for me. And I was a little taken aback and I was like, well, who told you that? And she's like, well, I'm not going to say. And I'm like, totally fine. And I said, it's okay. I said, they must have been in a place where they didn't feel good about themselves because you know me well enough to know that's not who I am. And I would never be anything but an advocate for you. And she's like, I know, I realized that. And that's why I reached out to you a couple months ago. And I was like, good. But before I'd be like, who was it? I need to know who it was. I need to hold them accountable for whatever they said about me. I don't care. It doesn't matter. That was on them, not on me. And just when you can be at peace with who you are and knowing who you are, it's a game changer. It's just a game changer. And now I look like, where am I going to be in 3 months, in 6 months, in 12 months? My life is not perfect. I'm living with my parents right now. I am 46 years old, but I have a direction. I have a North Star, and the North Star is just me. And if I want to change directions, shoot, I'll change directions. But right now, my biggest focus is on me and my next step and my next move. And I'm not worried about anybody else's next step or their next move. I'm not responsible for it. They're responsible for themselves. I can go to sleep at night knowing that, I had the power to do what I needed to do for me. And whatever happened was great. And if it didn't happen, then I'll make sure I get it done tomorrow, or I don't do it at all. And that's okay too, as long as I wake up tomorrow. Because when I walked into this program, I did not want to wake up tomorrow. And today I want to wake up tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. And honestly, I couldn't have done it unless I clicked on the link, and it was fate. That's all I can say is it was fate. It was a higher power. And that's why I clicked on it. And it was meant to be, totally meant to be.